Cortex strikes back. Press start to begin.
Hello everyone, I'm Stump. I'll be doing Crash 2 Cortex Strikes Back, and you present no game overviews. I will count down to when time starts, as soon as I skip this cutscene, and just get a little in here, and start. Okay, so here we are. This is Crash 2 80% no game overviews, where our goal here is to defeat Cortex by getting all 25 crystals, and well, nothing more than that, since anything more than that just is unnecessary stuff for us to get for that. Every 5 there will be a boss, and yeah, that'll just spice things up a bit as we make our way through this. So this is the first level, Turtle Woods. We are, well, this is where we see my speed movement technique here. This is the neutral slide spin, where if you slide and then you let go of the directional button and you spin, you keep the speed from the slide into the spin. But the slide cooldown timer runs, so you can move continuously at sliding speed, which is the fastest way to move. But with the cooldown, normally you wouldn't be able to do continuously. I'm also jumping a little higher than I normally would, able to get out of those pits by spinning right after a slide jump. That is called a glitch high jump. And I also am jumping slightly higher for another reason, which is that I am running this on the PAL version, which is the fastest for a few reasons, that being one of them. This affects 100% more, but your hitbox is a little larger, letting you body slam 4 rows of, no, 4 columns of crates at once, which, you know, really can add up. So here we are on our second level, Snow Go. We got this side-scrolling section now, and you can just plow all the way right through it. Oh. It does help when you get all the inputs for the neutral slide spin, though. You may have noticed at the beginning of that level that I avoided a mask box, and I also did not take that one. You would think you would normally want that, because getting a third mask puts you into third mask form, in which you're invincible, and so it can just move forward without regard for enemies of almost all types. But it really messes up your relative movement speeds. Some things that are normally fast become not as fast. Some things that are normally slow become fast. Neutral slide spinning or things involving sliding don't really tend to slow down a good bit, and it actually turns out that the fastest form of movement over land in third mask form is to crawl. Hopefully we won't be needing to see that. There I broke a third mask box, but since I'm riding this waterboard here, it didn't do anything. Always a bit of a sight to see a mask box just not do anything. Anyway, this is hanging. We're going upstream on a river. Just boosting through this. One more waterboard section with lines and walls and ramps and all. And we're fine without that mask. So there's that. You may have noticed that timer. We are... that gem normally would be our reward for that, for completing the level before that timer runs out, but we don't have time for the extra item throw up here that would result in, so we'll skip it. But that also sort of provides a way to show how much time the speed movement here saves, because with just ordinary running forward through the level, you just barely make it. Now, we're playing around with hitboxes a bit in this level, where I am sort of jumping to barely clear the bird, and then spinning as I pass behind it to extend my hitbox backwards and get bumped forward. Just giving me a little tiny boost, like that. So there are 2 paths here. The crystal's on the left path, that's all we care about. In 100%, you have to do both paths because there are boxes on both, so you have to break the first couple boxes in the right path because that goes up to the largest gap in the right path. Then you do the left path. Then you backtrack down the right path. It's an adventure. But here we are, merged again. Just making our way through here. And I believe that is, yep, that is the last pit. So that is 4 levels done. Then we have another, well, a new type of level here. This is Crash Dash, where we will be running from a boulder. So this is all about knowing where the pits are and where other obstacles are. And with the speed movement, I missed this neutral, doing a slide at the right point to avoid that animation happening, but that happens sometimes. So those mines there don't actually hurt you, but with the way they launch you forward in a slow animation, they often leave you to be hit and rolled over by the boulder. So they hurt you, but just not directly. Yeah, you might actually, I think that fourth nitro did explode, but it looked like it might not have because, well, a lot of things only happen if they happen on screen in this game. We don't care about all the nitros necessarily exploding in this category, but 100% would have to worry about that. Then you got these boxes that the electric barriers do launch the... Oh, I better not get the second one of... Oh, okay. Oh well, that happens. But the remains of those electric barriers do launch the boulder up a little bit and over those boxes. And with ordinary movement, you just barely make it when you take the time to spin those away. But, well, that's 5 crystals. That brings us to our first boss, Ripperoo. So, Ripperoo bounces around, leaves TNT squares. They will explode. Then the same thing with nitro squares. And then you deliver the hit. Repeat twice. So the patterns here are entirely fixed. They will be the same every time. So I just have to know where the safe spot is and get to it, and then I just don't have to worry about anything. So I'll take this time to say thanks so much to everyone who made all these donations to get us to $200 raised for Assemble Pittsburgh in just our first day here. So, great cause for things to be going to, and I can't wait to see how things go these other 2 days. We are here at Pittsburgh Game Expo in Monroeville this whole weekend. So that is Ripperoo done. So time for our next set of 5 levels. So first we will start with Snowbiz. This is another snow level, adding some new things to it. Like these areas that mix ice with pits. And then sliding penguins as opposed to sliding seals. And onto another side-scrolling section. So this introduces these porcupine enemies. If you approach them at normal speed, they get their spines fully extended before you get to them. And they are harmful to touch in that state, but that doesn't happen until the spines have fully extended. So the extra speed you get from this movement just lets you go through them as though they're not there. It really works out well. And then, just like Snow Go, this ends with a forward scrolling section again. This time with some rolling stones. Sort of a shout out to a level in Crash 1 called that. And some others in Crash 1 that have those, but that is Snow Go. No, Snow Biz. Snow Go was the first one. So then, Air Crash is next. That is another river level. Ooh. Yeah. Was slightly off when I felt like my initial jump there wasn't quite there. But we still have a mask to use to deal with this part on the partial walls. Narrowly get past that. Weave through those, avoid the nitros, and onward to some more. So that would normally be a death route platform. Ooh. Yeah, with only one mask, I'm going to actually avoid those. That nitro I like to call the any percent nitro because any percent categories are the only ones where you actually see it. In 100%, when you blow that, you have already blown all the nitros in the level up at the time that you pass that. But here we are. So this now brings us to a new level type. Barret is a bear level, so we will be riding on Polar, the polar bear cub, who continuously moves forwards and, well, this provides a little extra mechanic here. Don't run into anything. Also, in categories other than this, you would also have to be very careful not to miss any boxes because you have to death warp back to a checkpoint for another chance at breaking it. There are actually some tricky box arrangements here that probably that make this one what I feel is the hardest of the bear levels in the game in Hundo. But it doesn't really make too much of a difference here. Yep. Missed that checkpoint, so slight YOLO mode here. Yeah, these three boxes are bane of many Hundo runners' runs. You have to really be precise with your movement left and right to along that to break all those boxes. So now there is Crash Crush. This is another boulder level that similarly adds a few new things to it, such as electric barriers that I think we don't see until after this first boulder section. You can see that the lighting's a bit different here too. Alright, here we have one of those barriers. So you just have to slide under it and, well, there you are. Both the slide and the spin part of the neutral slide spin will get you under them in this level, but that will not be true the next time we see those things. Alright, one more. I missed a slide input. Alright. Ooh, I got a wrong direction slide there. That can sometimes happen depending on what else is going on at the time that you hit the boost pad. Alright, don't forget the crystal. Since that is over there, it is surprisingly easy to miss that one and not think about it. And you may notice the game being unusually generous with boost pads here. That is because of what's sort of the added challenge for Hundo casually in this, which is that body slam box there. You have to body slam on that box to break it. That keeps you motionless for quite a bit of time. And that is enough time for the boulder to almost but not quite catch up to you if you aren't doing speed movement for a long enough time that the boulder is just about off screen by that point. And then this warp room ends with a new level type. This is the eel deal. It's a sewer level. And the signature thing here are these occasional pools of water that have an electric eel in them that electrifies the water on a cycle. And then you got those enemies there just scrubbing the sewer. Alright, now we have a branch path where the left side has the crystal, and then the exit's out the right. Alright, I am used to having a mask here and using it on one of the nitros, but we can't exactly do that. But we got through that. We can get to the final section of this level. I am not going to make it in front of that, especially not without masks, so I have to wait for that. And then after a quick little section in very hot pipe, which I should make it over there, and that will be our 10th crystal. So it is time for our next boss. So our next boss here is the Komodo brothers. This is, I believe, their first appearance in the series. So Komodo Mo launches Komodo Joe. He bounces around a bit. I eventually stops. I spin one into the other, and then knives are thrown around 3/4 of the arena. Now, this knife throwing may seem a little bit slower than you might be used to. That is because this was not adjusted for the change in frame rate for PAL. Some things weren't, particularly things involving boss fights. So that does cause this fight to be a little bit slower in PAL, but it more than makes up for that in other ways. Alright. Then in this third phase, there will be knives thrown at me during this spinning section. Alright, that was a nice little third hit there. That is 2 warp rooms done. So the third warp room begins with Plant Food, another river level. And this one, similarly to Hang 8, has a timer gem in it. Doing a little bit of zigzagging on that gem to stretch it a little further. So there is that. And I will use this mask to, well, actually not damage abuse through that. Instead, I managed to avoid those mines. So this will actually work out nicely for hopefully saving a bunch of time later in the level from not having to wait for certain cycles. Or I can squander my mask there like that. So, well, we can regain that mask there, see whether I can boost at the right time to avoid that, and I did. So now we have a single, like square-wide thing through 2 plants there. You cannot make it through that without taking a hit, so you're intended to go forward, pre-kill them and go back and use the waterboard to get past, avoiding the yellow gem for the same reason we avoided the gem in Hang 8. And we brought a mask out of plant food, so, and thus into Sewer later, where there are some enemies we can skip by using our mask on them. Enemies that it would take a while to wait to have them become safe to pass. Alright. Now comes the part where we might actually do some using of those. So we will not wait for that one. There's our second mask. If I position myself right, okay, I did take the hit there. But you can often avoid the hit there, as I did with that. And since I am bringing 2 masks into this area, that means I can spend one on that enemy, replenish the mask there and get the crystal. And then we have 2 masks that we can use to avoid 2 more of those things as we go towards the exit on the other branch above it. And that is Sewer later. And the reason that we're fine just spending all of our masks at the end of that is because we have a bear level next, and you cannot bring masks into those. This is Bear Down. There's a few more added elements to this that we'll be seeing very soon. But one of those is these pairs of lab assistants that alternately raise and lower rows of steel crates. Try not to hit them. Although speaking of hitting them, I have to say that the bear levels, I think, have some of the best death animations in this game. Of course, that's something we hope we don't see. But it's, provides a little bit of a nicety if, to make things not quite as bad if it does. Ooh, I thought I might have been a little too late with that jump. I might have hit that, but yeah, we were just about on the home stretch at this level. Don't boost jump over those nitros. You will land in the ice water there. And you may see that we have gone over a bunch of platforms that lead to a larger and differently colored one. That, I believe, is the intended way for you to discover in casual play that the secret warp room exists. But this now brings us to Road to Ruin, a type of level we haven't seen before. This is a ruins level where it's mostly a pit and just going across different, often small, sometimes moving platforms on them. Those heads that you're seeing rotate to look at me, first they were just doing that, now they're breathing fire, but a glitch high jump will get you over the fire. And then those ones collapse very soon after you jump on them. Now we just have this part. Yeah, I didn't think I would quite make that, but we're fine without that mask. And that is that. So there is one more level in this warp room. That level is unbearable. As you might expect from the name, it is a bear level, but it is a bear level in 2 different senses, as you will see, particularly at the end. And, well, the first way at the beginning, though. You could also consider this to sort of be a boulder level, but the boulders are something else. we also see these electric barriers returning, but they are slightly lower in this level than they were in Crash Dash. You can only make it under them on the slide part of your neutral slides. And I almost got caught on scenery and mercilessly mauled and swallowed by the bear. So there you can sort of see the effect of one of those mines being hit. We don't have to worry for bears for a little bit. Okay, now we do have to worry about them again. And there are a lot more pits in this one, so keeping track of where you are in it and where the next pits are is important. As well as remembering that that electric barrier is there. And then here's where it becomes a bear level in another sense. Spending some quality time with Polar. Big bear meets little bear. Now in this you actually, if you hit the very edge of these electric gates, you'll knock them over and not get harmed by them. But that's that. That thing jutting out into the pit there is, well, you can make that jump back, and there's a secret warp room entrance there. But that's 5 more crystals. That means it is time for another boss. So it is time to fight Tiny the Tiger, and this is probably the place where there is the highest element of RNG in the game. 3 of these platforms are about to drop. And it took another hit for, well, it took 1 extra hop for Tiny to be able to be led onto one of those platforms. And then all but 3 platforms dropped after that. So now here's phase 2, where only 2 platforms will drop. And again, I got an extra, and only 2 platforms stay up, so time for the final phase. Now I'm at the far edge of this because if one of the back corners is the platform that drops. Oh, that is very unfortunate. All right, maybe we'll at least get all the best RNG and this go at it. No extra drop there. Let's see where the 2 platforms drop here. I also like how the animation of recovering from the jump is essentially timed the same for you and Tiny. Alright, going to try and be on that back edge just in case it's a quick drop of one of... Oh, that will... There we are. And that is the Tiny fight. So, 3 warp rooms finished, 2 more remain. So this warp room we're going to do out of order because we specifically want to bring 2 masks into into that first level there, and this level is the best place to potentially get those. This is Diggin' It, sort of a new level type that has these plant-looking things that spit exploding fruit at you. Spinning will protect you from them. And then you have these that move around in a pattern. Here's our second mask there. More electric barriers. More piranha plants. Now intermittent electric barriers. It can be tough to... Okay, I avoided getting hit there. Usually when I get hit in this level, it's there. So, well, that was dodged. We have a checkpoint here, and we have a branching path. The left path is a death route. The platforms to those only spawn when you have reached that point in the level without having died, since you entered the level. Instead, on this right half, we are going to be dealing with these. So you can see that I passed some beehives and bees came out of them. And each beehive has a zone behind it where if you're in that zone, the bees will chase you. Generally that zone ends with a full width hit, but we can very easily outrun the bees even with casual movement in this. That is not going to be true when we see the bees again. That differently colored platform with the plant-like enemy on it is another secret workroom entrance. But there is that, and we have successfully brought 2 masks out of digging it. That means we can go right ahead and do hanging out. So, hanging out is a sewer level. It is the one place in this game where you want third mask from. It also is a place where you have to remember not to just go and just not run it there, because you will lose your mask to that lab assistant with the blowtorch. And bringing 2 masks into this level and then losing one of them like that just feels so awful to have happen due to the amount of time that is saved by the third mask form that this level has. A third mask form that we will get now. So I'll just walk along here and let myself be bounced around the red-hot floor there. But the reason we want third mask from here is you could see just how much it sped up our movement across the hanging grids there. That is well worth it for even with the slowdown of what comes in between. And we don't really have much need to keep those masks now, so we can just plow right through those nitros. Eight levels remain. So first we will do Ruination. This is another Ruin level. One of the things that this has, it has a lot of the same box formations as Road to Ruin had, but with nitros mixed in, so it can catch casual players unaware. Alright, there is that. Usually when I'm at that point in the cycle, I don't make it through there undamaged. Okay, we made it through all of that. Ooh, got one of those extra hops there. Now you gotta be careful with sliding those because that one can hit the TNT and blow it up. And if you're just continuing to push forwards, the TNT will blow you up too. Alright, that is that. That is the crystal. That is a loose mask for some reason. And I really wish I knew as a kid that you could just spin those logs. So the next level is the last snow level we have, and is also a level where we actually will be doing the death route because it bypasses a large portion of the main level and is faster. This is Cold Hard Crash. It is the longest level in the game. It has the most boxes of any level in the game. It's quite a level. It also has quite a backtrack in it when doing 100% casually. The 100% category of this game uses a box duplication glitch to largely avoid that backtrack. It's really nice. Oh, that was, well, I mean, I had the masks to handle that, but the animation you get from that is really, really slow. Alright, made that jump, and here we go into the death route. I do sort of wish I had 2 masks, but one's fine, and I know exactly where I'm going to spend it. So this is almost entirely on ice. Alright, over that, thread that needle there, and we will use the mask on those nitros. Yep, didn't want that gem, but that'll just cost us a couple seconds in the warp room. Normally I carefully jump over it. And then after I've been doing a lot of any percent and do a 100% run after that, I will be on that, 100% run. Make a point of carefully jumping over that gem, as I once did. And, hit that checkpoint that's right down there before I realize what happened. That was not a fun way to lose a 100% run. So, one more level here. This is Behaving. This is another level in the style of Digging It. But, with a lot of things sort of turned up. Oh, I never mentioned the dark ground here. If you spin on that dark ground, you dig under it, which is a little bit slow, but it will protect you from the bees. Also, if you spin off of a slide, you don't dig under it, so you can still neutral slide spin on that. And you may notice a little bit more cacophony in the bee sounds, and it being a little bit, a bit more to them. That is because more bees come out of each of the hives here, and they move a lot faster. They will catch up to you if you are not neutral slide spinning. And even on the last bee section, there will be, they can almost still get you there. But that is why this level is a lot more generous with the diggable ground. Or in this case, with boost pads. Alright, there's that, and then I believe there is one more of those. I can bring masks into the boss fight anyway, so there we have that. That is our 20th crystal. So this boss fight is probably the most involved in the game. This is the engine fight, and this is one of the fights where PAL really helps, because engine moves a lot slower. 5, 4, 5, 8, 5. Oh, I should have been. Alright. Oh, still got double hands. So each of those hands took 10 hits to break, and if you break only one of them in a cycle instead of both of them, the other one gets a few extra hit points. Alright, 1 and 4. Double shoulders is a lot more important because the one shoulder movement is a little annoying. 2, 4. Okay. And we got double shoulders. Wonderful. So, time for phase 3. With proper timing and really good mashing, you can one-cycle this. But I am just not at that point. But time for our final warp room.
Prepare to suffer his wrath!
So we have a new level type here. This is Piston It Away, a piston level, which revolves around, well, the level's namesake. It's all about cycles with this one. Thankfully, most of the time you can 3D jump around them. So So this now introduces those enemies there with their arms up, so you have to spin them from the side, and then ones that alternate between having their arms out and their arms up. Also, there are, due to the shape of those lava things, we like to call them lava lamps. So the game forces those enemies there to be launched back toward the camera when you hit them with something that would otherwise launch them. I think to prevent you from sniping the mask box that's there. Then you got these lab assistants with the shields that lay out a lovely scream when you knock them into the pit. Almost there. So you may have seen those enemies with that plasma neck. There are a few enemies with harmful necks that we've seen where you have to slide them, and attacking them from above doesn't do anything. Well, it does do something. It hurts you. I was starting to get very terrified there that I had crashed the game. Anyway, we have a new level type here. This is a jetpack level, where Crash will put on a jetpack and be on our way. And these levels also contain a PAL exclusive skip that also goes a large part of the way to making that be the fastest version. Normally you need to hit these enemies here twice, but in the PAL version, and only in the PAL version of the game, if you deliver that first hit and then you just keep pushing forward, you'll go straight through, and that plasma field that you launch the enemy into at the end isn't actually there because you're never actually supposed to reach it. Just 3 levels left. So, level 23 is Night Fights. This is sort of a Turtlewood style level, but at night. So you're going to need some to pick up these fireflies to see. And when you hit one of them, it will follow you for a fixed period of time. Specifically, the amount of time it would take with ordinary movement to get you to the next one. So you will see that the first firefly lasted a good bit past the time I got the second one, and that causes this level to provide a really nice visualization of how much time this speed movement is saving. Now you got these UFO type things. You can slide under some of them, especially when you're between them. Almost got that. So the left path is a death route, which also has some boxes in it that you can backtrack into from this end of the branched path here. But now we just have this area after the merge. And that is going to be all. So, 2 levels are left. So this game has a tendency to introduce a level type in a warp room and then have a second instance of that level type in the same warp room. This last warp room does that twice. This is another jetpack level. And as usual with the second time we're seeing a level type, there's a bit more to it. More interesting arrangements of obstacles and such. But we can just make our way straight through it. PAL-specific skips for the win. And let's see, we will go around the outside of that. Those wires positioning can sometimes really mess with you. Just breaking that third mask box just because, since it'll do nothing. More PAL fun. We're fine without that checkpoint, especially since we have 2 masks. Yeah, we spent one of them there, but we're fine. And that is the crystal, and the end of that level. Just 1 level is left. Well, plus the final boss, but there's pretty much nothing to that. So, since we're rather low on time, I'm going to try and sort of pre-do my end of run stuff as this happens, but this is going to be Spaced Out, another piston level. Also adding these barriers, those platforms there that the sides of those are harmful. I didn't trust that cycle. Okay. That's not too huge of a deal. 3D jump around that. And now we are in this little section that's behind glass. But if we do a glitch high jump, we can bounce off the top of this enemy and get on top of the glass and not have to deal with some of the obstacles. Thankfully that was right after our checkpoint. But that can be a tricky jump if the cycles aren't as you expect them to be. So the enemies with harmful necks are still, even though sliding is the only safe way to attack them, they're still vulnerable to being slid into from above for some reason. Alright, there's that crystal. We are almost there. 1 lap assistance screen for good measure. And there we are. That is 25 crystals. So it is time for the final Cortex fight. This is a jetpack level, and this is probably the most anticlimactic Cortex fight in any Crash game. All I have to do is chase Cortex and deliver 3 hits. Time will be on the 3rd one. So, thanks. I hope you've enjoyed this run and this entire first day of this marathon here at Pittsburgh Gaming Expo. We got 2 more days of runs all throughout the weekend, so get ready on time and time!
No! You haven't seen the last of me, Crash Bandicoot!
Alright, so that was Crash 2, 100% Snow Game Over Abuse. I'm Stumped, and Stump 230 in most places. I also am the main tech person for this marathon, so that's me, and thanks for